Yeah, good morning, everyone. And thank you, Randy, for the gracious introduction. I am not an inspiring speaker, as Randy is. He's a tough act to follow. What I'd like to do is provide a very brief overview of what we're going to try to accomplish in the next 2 days in this workshop. And then we will transition into the regional presentations, which are the centerpiece today. First, thank you for attending on behalf of Jessica and myself and the staff at the Stewardship Council who helped set this up. I would like to first revisit our definition of science enterprise, because that's really a central concept in what we're trying to accomplish with this workshop. We're really interested here not in how individual science programs work, but in how well the combined science efforts of public agencies, stakeholder groups, academic scientists, and others together serve the management needs of the regional systems in which they operate. In some regional systems, as you will hear today, a single collaborative science organization accounts for most of the management relevant science that's done. In others, science is fragmented among many organizations. By science enterprise, we mean the collective effort of all the parties. By providing a detailed working definition on page 4 of the advanced briefing, which I hope you read, you will get a little bit more detail as to how we've defined the contours of this concept. It's important to us here because our intent in this workshop is to look outward from the San Francisco Bay Delta to other similarly situated regional systems and determine whether there are lessons we can learn from their experiences, both positive and negative, that we can potentially apply here to make our enterprise work better. In the presentations today, you'll hear from regions that are organized in various ways with various levels of funding from federal, state, and private sources. We'd like to understand better the differences in enterprise organization, splits in funding from various sources, mechanisms of stakeholder engagement in science. All of them affect the ability of an enterprise to serve the needs of managers and stakeholders. There are many regional systems in the US and elsewhere that are being actively managed and that have created a demand for science. In fact, Scott Phillips, who you'll hear today talking about the Chesapeake system, led an effort within USGS to round up regional ecosystem or landscape level science efforts that USGS is engaged in on behalf of the Department of Interior and our other partners, and came up with a list of more than 20 major efforts. We have selected, for the purposes of this workshop, 6 systems from that list, and we've chosen only US systems for purposes of this workshop for the simple reason that part of our interest is in the legislative and executive guidance that have been used to organize science. By choosing only US systems and primarily coastal systems, we hope to simplify the comparison. Tomorrow, Cliff Dahm will discuss a few notable international science programs in his presentation during panel number 1 to provide a perspective on some notable examples of effective regional science occurring elsewhere. And of course, there are many international examples. Certainly our choices here aren't meant to minimize the contributions that scientists in other countries have made to furthering the goal of understanding how to make science effective. Specifically in this workshop, our goals are to help people in this system avoid mistakes or reinventing the wheel in efforts to better coordinate and integrate science, including integrative approaches to deal with social, biological, chemical, and physical aspects of complexity, which we have a lot here, to better understand governance and management systems that have been set up in other high-profile systems to jointly manage resources and conduct science, to identify practical means by which science programs manage financial and intellectual resources and ensure the relevance of ongoing lines of research and monitoring, to hear expert perspectives on what makes science legitimate to stakeholders and the public, and on the limitations of traditional approaches to applied science. And this is not the least important, it's another important goal, to enhance networking among programs and experts and contribute to the body of knowledge on natural resource management in major regional systems. And I'd like to acknowledge that that this effort, bringing in multiple systems for a comparative survey, is not the first of its kind. There probably have been a number in the past, but an important one was conducted in the Puget Sound system in 2012, and we're very happy to have some representatives from Puget Sound who will be talking not only about their system in the context of the questions we're asking at this workshop, but will also relate to us the experience in 2012 when they conducted a workshop up there. One important point, we do not have any objectives that relate, in this workshop, that relate to natural resource management or policy. Our view is that the proper measure of science enterprise effectiveness is how well it informs managers and stakeholders. Science is only one ingredient in policy, and we hope to keep that distinction clear throughout the workshop. Because we'd like to know who you are, I'd like to do a quick show of hands survey. How many people in the audience currently are representatives of state government agencies? Federal agencies? Local government? Consultants? Academics? Stakeholder groups? How many social scientists? Excellent. Okay, quick overview. Today we'll have the 6 regional presentations in the morning and early afternoon. Later on this afternoon we'll have a panel of regional presenters. We've prepared some canned questions. Tracy Collier will be leading that discussion. Tomorrow we'll have 4 topical panels that we framed to be helpful to the San Francisco Bay Delta audience, and we hope others. We'll not talk about those topical panels anymore today, but we will have a little bit of a briefing on the reasons why we chose the topical panels that we did tomorrow morning before we kick off those panels. So we asked all of the presenters today to help us with respect to what we're calling key points of comparison on the systems. They include, and again, there's more on this in your advanced briefing, history of regional program development, major resource management issues, the current science enterprise structure in their system, funding for science, important tools for implementing science, communications and co-production. So we're covering a number of topics. Hopefully you'll hear about all of those from each system. The last thing I'd like to say before we move on is that we desire audience participation. We've allocated time during all of the presentations and panels for audience Q&A. And each panel on day 2 is followed by a break. So there will be a chance for members of the audience to interact with the panel members then. We've got a reception at the end of the day today to allow time for mixing between the audience and the invited participants. And we'd appreciate if you have questions that you don't have a chance to ask during the event, if you'd share them with us either by email or via, I believe, some cards in the back that can be used for that purpose.